video has started. Welcome. This is, I suppose, a version of spiritual self-defense. I will be moving these Saturday lectures to Wednesday nights, probably, starting this week. But I had some really good stuff to share today on the mind and how I relate to it. Because this is cutting edge. Literally 5-10 minutes ago I had these ideas and I want to share them, right? So, as with most people, things go on in my life, and and it's this continual process of events in your life destabilizing you, shaking you up to some degree, and then you restabilizing yourself, grounding yourself, coming back to your center, right? The meaning of meditation is coming back to your center. Okay, so in any case, the mind is very involved in that process, right? It plays an integral role. But what we really need to examine is how we relate to our own minds. And what I realized this week is that I feel like my mission with all of this existence first stuff is my mission is a human species that looks up to itself. A human species that looks up to itself. Okay? And so there's a few things that would not qualify, that would not meet that criterion. One of those would be a human species that looks down on itself, right? And thinks, oh, we mess up the planet so much, we pollute, we have racial inequality, blah, blah, blah. The 1%, we're the 99%, blah, blah, blah. Like, that would not be acceptable, right? Second, another scenario that would not be acceptable would be a human species that doesn't even know itself, right? A human species that's sort of unaware, a human species that's under the impression of falsehoods, right, and lies, right? And one of these falsehoods and illusions is regarding the mind. So people, well, let me put it this way, okay? We have to ask, what is the human being? If we want to stand tall as a human being, understand ourselves, respect ourselves and our potential, and do good for each other and for the planet, we need to start with some correct understandings, right? So it's time to open the window and throw out all of these garbage, incomplete understandings of what the human being is, whether you were told that from religions or that you were told that from, I don't know, from a science book or whatever. Like whatever is false needs to go out the window. And so what is true? Okay, so what is true is that the human being is basically originated as a survival machine. That means that it was designed to, I don't even want to use the word design, because it kind of implies a designer. And so now you see the conscientiousness with which you must approach language, right? Because we're talking all day long, but nobody is actually examining the words that they speak. Nietzsche was a philologist, and that means you study language, and that's very, very important, right? Because words are they're not precise. They're like this construct. They're like this thing that just was created, like a mountain, right? A mountain's not perfect. It is what it is. Like, it's rocky, it's big, or whatever. It's like, sometimes it's a strange shape, right? But it is what it is. Okay, so back to the core central topic. All right, the human being is a survival and replication machine. What does that mean? It means it is rigged or designed with a lot of these features in it that kind of cause it to survive against or in the face of many threats to survival, and not only that, but also to seek out a mate of the opposite sex, meaning if it's male, a female, female, a male, so that they can produce another human, right? So there's this, that's a very basic rudimentary foundational thing, okay? This talk today is going to only focus on the survival aspect, not the replication. So survival, the human being is a survival machine, and any machine has various features and tools. If I talk about this little like can opener as a machine, it not only has a can opener thing, but it also has a what do you call this, a bottle opener or something like that, right? And so there's different features here, different tools, so to speak. It's like a Swiss Army knife, right? You can pull out a Swiss Army knife. By the way, this is really old and ugly, but if you pull out a Swiss Army knife, it has all of these various tools. That's what a human being is like. What are the human being's tools? It's this: ears that can hear a certain range of sound vibrations in the environment, eyes that can see a certain segment of visible light, right? Electromagnetic energy. The eyes see a subsection of electromagnetic energy, right? So if you ever say, oh, seeing, are you seeing energy, right? How do you see energy? We see it all the time. It's just we see that at a very narrow range, and it's called red, orange, yellow, blah, 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 right? Roy G. Biv. That's a very narrow range of the electromagnetic spectrum. The rest of the spectrum involves radio waves, gamma rays, etc., that we cannot see with our eyes. Why? Because it's not crucial to our survival, okay? But to see red, orange, yellow, etc., that's very crucial to our survival. We need to be able to see an animal coming towards us, right? All right. So eyes, that's another tool. Nose, the nose will tell us if there's a lot of times if there's like bacteria or virus or something nasty that we need to avoid, right? We smell something like, oh, yeah, like, and it repulses us, so we need to. Why? Because it's a threat to our survival. If you the bacteria can kill you, right? Can threaten your survival. So we smell something bad, and we want to go away from it. Okay. That's nose, right? The teeth. We chew food. Right? Hands are a tool. So now because we can pick things up. So now you're seeing that this whole human being is basically a Swiss Army knife of survival. Okay. Now, here's my main point. Another one of these tools, eyes, ears, blah, 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 is the mind. The mind. Your own brain and your thinking. And you might think, well, how is that even, is that a tool, or like how is that survival related? Well, it's very survival related, okay? If you have a brain that can notice patterns and say, oh, for every one of the last 10 years, when September, October, November came around, it got cold and the crops dried up and we had no more food, right? And you recognize that pattern and you predict and you say, well, when next September comes around, is there something we can do so that we don't run out of food in the winter, right? So that sort of a thinking is now available to us with the brain. Not to mention all of the brain is responsible for all of the social interactions that we do, all of the social connections, reading someone's smile and knowing, like feeling what they feel, which allows then for humans to cooperate as a group and defend themselves together as tribes and everything like that. So the mind is a survival tool. All right, that being said, I would like to therefore take the mind off of its pedestal, the false pedestal that we've put it on. And this pedestal is basically this idea, like the mind has gone undercover almost, like it's gone under the radar as this, like we don't recognize it as part of us, we recognize it as us, right? So we identify with the mind, and it blurs reality. So that's the false understanding, and people go around having all these problems with their mind because they don't realize that it's just a functioning tool, just like your hands, just like whatever. So same thing with your hands. If you get, your fingers chopped off or something, right? Or you get a Parkinson's or something where you lose muscle control, you've lost the use of this tool, right? You've lost the use of this tool. And you would need to fix that if you want to regain control of this useful tool. The mind is the same. Some people lose control of that tool. If it breaks, just like the hand, if you lose, muscle coordination, you can't pick things up. Sometimes the mind goes, it goes to dysfunction, and it doesn't operate the way it should. Like you're doing things impulsively, and you should think things through better. Or it goes the opposite direction. It keeps you from doing anything. Like you're depressed and you can't even like get up from bed, right? And so that's in the other direction. So there's all of these dysfunctions to the mind, and we need to realize that the mind is not us. The mind is a piece of us. It's a tool just like our eyes and ears, etc., right? And it's just a little bit more intimate to us because the mind also enables our emotions and our subjective world and everything like that, right? But let's say, here's an easy way to get around this. If you ask yourself the question, you're having some thoughts, right? And you realize, you notice that you're having these thoughts. Well, if the thoughts are you, then who's the one noticing that you have these thoughts, right? You're saying that you've got these thoughts and these thoughts are bothering you, blah, blah, blah. Well, if the thoughts are bothering you, then the thoughts are not you. Like you're not the thoughts. Those are two different things. So that language right there will demonstrate to you that you are separate from the thoughts. Now, let's go on to another topic, which is related, but which is very important. Now, tools can be used for other stuff. Okay, so even though this was a tool made to like open cans and bottles, I could theoretically use it like as a hammer, and hit a nail. Okay, these hands, even though these hands evolved in situations where it was useful to grasp onto things, either pick things up or to swing on branches or whatever, these hands can be used for like a lot of different things, like playing the piano or painting, something very artistic. And so all of a sudden, a bunch of potential opens up. Now, this is where we get into this topic of human potential, and that's a topic that excites me. Human potential. So the hands have all of these potential as a tool. Obviously, it's a tool for survival, but that's not the only way it can be used, right? That was a way that it can be used, but it's not the only way. Similarly, what's another example? The hands are a good example, right? But let's say that the mind being another tool in the Swiss Army knife, the mind was useful for anticipating threats, right? It was useful for triggering certain behaviors to ensure survival. However, that's not its only use. Obviously, people use their minds to do advanced mathematics that will not save their lives, but it's like advanced mathematics. Their minds can come up with these really well-written pieces of fiction that help us understand the human condition. I'm talking Shakespeare and Charles Dickens and stuff. Like that has some value and use, and yet it's not about running away from tigers and stuff, right? It's not. So when it comes to the potential for the use of these tools, hands, eyes, ears, mind, there's unlimited potential, right? And that's how I define human potential. Now, that potential can go both ways. It can be used positively, as in all the examples I just shared, making art or what else? Building things, right? But it can also be taken in the opposite direction. So the mind can come up with great stories of fiction, as in Shakespeare, or it can come up with great stories of fiction of your own suffering. Like, oh, so and so, they're laughing at me because they think that I'm less, or right, or something, right? Um, or oh, I'm not good at that because blah blah blah, or I'm not going to start my business because I am afraid that blah blah blah. So now you see how the mind now handicaps people. So their own tool is now working against them. Okay, so self harm, if you're familiar with the psychology world, self harm is this uh, phenomenon where like people will pick at themselves, because they're like, oh, I'm feeling bad, I want to, or they'll say either they want to feel something, or they want to, they don't like themselves and they want to torture themselves or whatever, right? And then they like pick at themselves, or sometimes they could use tools, and it's not good. But self harm, that's just physical self harm. So that's using this tool, the hand, and using it against yourself, right? That's not good. That would be like hitting yourself in the head. Be you're so dumb, right? Like that's not productive. But it's a possible use of this tool, right? So people can use it for good or for bad, positive or negative, I should say. Um, Same thing with the mind. The mind is a tool that can be used for positive or negative, right? A pair of scissors can be used to, to cut something, and to save someone's life, right? Or a pair of scissors could be used to like harm someone, right? So tools can be used in both directions. Now, the mind, what I see and what I observe, because as I go through life, I live psychology. I don't live psychology through textbooks. I actually like apply it every single day, regardless of if I'm actually working in the field or not. As long as you're in relation with a human being, or you are interacting with your environment, because you have a mind too, you have the opportunity to do psychology, and that's what I do. Every single minute of every single day, I'm doing psychology. So what I realize more and more is that the mind is being used against us so much, and it's causing tension when there doesn't need to be tension, right? I watch these people interact with each other, right? I'm talking about anywhere that I go, I watch people interact with each other, and everybody is carrying so much extra tension that's totally unnecessary. It's so strange, right? Um, you just watch two people interact, and it's just this exchange of tension. It's like one person goes, um, one person will be like, oh hey, how's it going, right? And then so that already you see like shoulders tension in the shoulders, right? Or tension in the eyebrows. I know, some people when they talk they'll like focus really strong, and then when you talk to them you can see the ridges form in their eyebrows, and you'll be talking to them and they'll be like mm-hmm, 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 and you can see the tension right there, and it's like, is that really necessary? Like, it's really nice to talk to someone who's actually like really relaxed and really calm, and like people when they come out of meditation, I love talking to people when they come out of meditation, because they're like a calm ocean, they're like a calm lake, like calm oceans and calm lakes actually relax us, and so it's no surprise that people who come out of meditation would relax us too. I have a lot to say in today's talk, I guess. But anyways, the mind is tense when it doesn't need to be tense. It's offended when it doesn't need to be offended, right? So people are walking around like smacking themselves with their own mind, and it it goes invisible, it goes under the radar, because the mind is not recognized as this tool, right? We don't think of our mind uh, as like a piece of us. We think of it, we identify with it, right? We think, oh, I'm hungry. Like the hunger is like, that's what I am right now. I am hungry. Like that is me, right? And so we get this false sense of identity with our emotions, and we don't realize its proper role. Here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that hunger is a temporary emotion that's meant to trigger a behavior in you, which is to go find food and eat the food. Okay? So again, coming back to survival machine. So it all ties together. I mean, that's how truth works. There's various there's various philosophical theories of truth, right? That branch is called epistemology, but in the end, truth is when all of the data points fit together, and when they don't fit together, then you need to modify your theories, right? Your frameworks of truth. Okay. But one thing that I won't tolerate is I will not tolerate falsehoods, and I will not tolerate people thinking less of themselves. Okay? Because, like I said, what I am going to accomplish with Existence First is a human species that looks up to itself, a human species that stands tall, that knows itself, just like how Socrates said, "Know thyself." People are running around with a bunch of false, self-perceptions, self-conceptions of like, oh yeah, this is what a human is, blah, 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 It's all lies, all falsehoods, and it's time for people to really get smart when it comes to understanding what a human being is and what human life is. And the second step from that would be then living in a way that you, knowing like who you actually are, your mind, and etc., how to relate to all of that, then you live a life where you are satisfied with your choices, you embrace your freedom to make decisions in your life, to end negative experiences when they need to be ended, and to constantly move forward in life. That forward energy is a blessing that everybody deserves. Every human being deserves the ability to move forward in life. That's very important control of energy, is to be able to move forward. There's a lot of people that are tied to their past and just they hold on to this negative information and negative past events way longer than they need to. So I think I said enough. This was from Existence First. If you're not on the Instagram or the Facebook or the YouTube, then go find those. I also started a new podcast recently with my friend and fellow mind coach, Kira Carlin. That podcast is on YouTube, and it's also on all platforms. It's called Enter the Mind. And in that podcast, I spell out a lot of very good, kind of like in today's lecture, it's some no-nonsense, real psychology stuff. Okay, it's real talk. And Kira is a very exceptional co-host. She's very precocious, younger than me, but she's got a very good understanding of human potential and what it takes to throw out self-limiting beliefs and move forward and really embrace life in a passionate way. So check it out, Enter the Mind. Okay, if you can't find it, then send me a message and comment on this video, and we'll see you guys soon.